Blessings. So I'm going to talk a bit about divine intervention and detours. When we hear of divine intervention, we kind of question, we want to ask ourselves, what does that mean? What does it mean when the divine intervenes in our lives? And why do they do that? Whoever they are, whether you refer to it as your higher self, your source, your guides, your ancestors, whoever. But there is some type of force that comes in to redirect us on our path. And sometimes it could be most times, it's because we're off course a little bit. Our true north is not north. And sometimes the divine will stage and put things in our path. And we always say to test us. And yes, there are times that test us. But they're offering us choice points and how we're going and what choices we're going to make and how we're going to react to situations so that we can utilize the skills and abilities that we've learned. It's very much so walking your talk. It's interesting when there is, and I want to point out, there is no right or wrong path. There is no right or wrong decisions. They're just choices. They're just choice points. And if you can see them as such, it's, what are those games called? Choose your adventure. So if I choose X, Y, and Z, I'm going to go down this path and I'm going to explore this world. But if I choose this, I'm going to go on a totally different path. And the experience will be different. So if you can look at every choice point is a choose your adventure. What adventure are you going to go on? And not see it as like, well, oh shit, I just went down a path that I didn't realize I just got myself into, went through this crazy ass forest and swamps and desert lands and was like, whoa, this is not what I expected. This is not really what I wanted to sign up for, but I chose the path. It doesn't mean it's wrong. You just gain more experience. You learned a lot. You have gained more wisdom, from those experiences. So as far as divine intervention, sometimes we choose paths that are not in the highest good for ourselves and either our family or friends, but it always still comes back to you first and foremost. But your path can, and the decisions that you make on your path can ultimately alter other people's lives. Because we're all intricately woven and part of the same source. We're all one. So sometimes we continue to make decisions that may not be in our highest good. And we make those decisions out of comfort, out of trauma, out of patterns, habits, addictions, traumas, whatever the case may be. Again, it's a cycle. It's a pattern. And when you get in a pattern, it becomes comfortable, even though it's uncomfortable, if that makes sense. Yet we still do it. It's like it because we this is all we know. These are the things that I've always done this. I don't know anything outside of this. Sometimes these patterns become part of our identity. And if we didn't have that pattern, we wouldn't know who we are. Even though sometimes they can be very detrimental to ourselves. And as we continue to expand and evolve and raise our awareness and our consciousness, we can always come from the place of heart space and love, and we wish to be of service, and we wish to make the right decisions and be full of love and do all the right things and be this model citizen, so to speak. Yet, behind closed doors, we are still doing patterns and behaviors that are not healthy for ourselves. And that affects the people we interact with, our family, our friends, our loved ones, partners, whoever it is. And because of those patterns, we continue these behaviors. But as we continue to expand, our higher selves will no longer allow us to play in these lower based behaviors, choices, decisions. So the universe will come in and disrupt our realities. Sometimes to trigger an event so that we can make a better decision, so that we can see it face to face, our actions. It's a cause and effect. And we have to understand that those choices will ultimately have an effect. And we have to accept full responsibility for those choices, decisions, and actions. We can't blame other people. We can't blame our traumas. We can't blame what has happened in our life and say, well, X, Y, and Z, these are the reasons I do these things. No. You have to claim full responsibility if you are wishing to be a sovereign being for your actions, your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors. And it's hard for people to take full responsibility. So here's the thing with the divine intervention. The divine will come in because it loves you that much. Your universe, your higher self. And will sometimes place an event and to trigger off, to wake you up out of your slumber. Because you could be highly evolved, yet still sleep in some instances. That's still part of being human. That is the multidimensional awareness, because you are not just working in 5th, 6th, 7th dimension. You are working still with other aspects of self that are in the 4th and the 3rd. Some are actually in the 2nd and the 1st. Okay? So here's the thing. We're constantly shifting in and out of these. And if you have a behavior or pattern or addiction or trauma that keeps you in these lower vibrational frequencies. It's still an aspect of self that you're working with, whether you're most of the time in a fifth and higher dimensional space or consciousness. But there's still an aspect of self. And what happens is, many times we like to shove that aspect of self into the shadows, into the unconscious. And that's where the shadow comes, and it eventually rears its ugly head. And things happen in our lives, and we're like, holy shit, that's so not like me. Where did that come from? Because we've been ignoring it. Because we kept shunning it. And I've talked about this before, about loving our shadow, loving the aspects and parts of our being that normally we disown, or society says is not appropriate, and things like that. And we can't, because it needs to be seen. It wants to be heard. And it wants to be healed. And it wants to be loved. But the more we suppress and the more that we ignore, our universe comes in and sets off these cataclysmic, sometimes, events to wake us up. In the end, it's a blessing. It really is. And we could go into these spiraling moments and see these things as like, oh, this could happen, or that could have happened, or why did this happen? Why is my universe punishing me? It's not punishing you. It's trying to set you back on course. You're in a shitty relationship, and I'm not saying anyone that's being abused and in these type of things that they cannot get out of. Overall, at the end of the day, we have a choice. And some choices are very difficult to let go of because they're habits. We are comfortable there. We are comfortable in that thought process. We are comfortable in those lower based emotions. We are comfortable reacting. It's comfortable. And many of us stay there because that's all we know. But our universe says it's not healthy, and our higher self knows it's not healthy, and just wants to get us on the right path and course. So these events happen. These detours happen. A redirect. You think you're going one way. Something happens and it doesn't work out. It's because you have to get shifted and go this way now. It becomes a zigzag. Like, this whole process of ascension is really a meandering. It's not linear. And yes, you can see it as spiral, but it's the same thing even on the spiral. You come back to places where you're like, I healed this. Why am I here again? Why am I having this experience? Because sometimes those wounds, that conditioning is so deep, you have to go several rounds to actually work through these processes. And I want to point out, sometimes the universe comes in and creates an event that seems very tragic, detrimental, in order for us to get the hint, for us to get the wake-up call. And they've actually altered an event that could have been 10 times worse than the event we're actually experiencing within that now moment. And that's kind of how we have to look at it. Like, yes, when you're in it, you're in the shitty storm. You're in it. And your tower moment after tower moment after tower moment. And it's hard to deal with. But when the storm calms and we give ourselves time to reflect, you could actually see even further and see even more of the bigger picture of the cascade of events that could have occurred if the universe hadn't stepped in. So it's seeing these events. I know at the time you're just like, you can't see it as a blessing in disguise, but they are. They really are. Being able to see when the world is crumbling, life is falling apart, event after event after event is occurring. It's because we are going through monumental shifts in our lives. And the universe is just helping shift and redirect things that we were not willing to let go of. Or that we need help releasing. We need a different perspective sometimes. Because many times as humans, we're always trying to be in control. And really, we have no control at the end of the day. We only have control on how we react. So when these things happen, we can go into the spiral and go down with the ship. And that's okay if we do for a little while, but we can't stay there. Or we can say, okay, I see this event triggered off this event. My decision here created that, and that triggered off that. And accept responsibility of that cause and effect. And then say, okay, I forgive myself. I forgive the other people that may be involved, if that's the case. I forgive this system. I love myself. And it's coming back here and saying, okay, I don't want to spiral downward. I don't want to go into those dark spaces. And I don't want to stay there. And I still want to believe and have hope that this was just a learning opportunity. And I've gained a lot of wisdom. And now I can see how the events unfolded and come up with a solution of how I'm going to move forward. Am I going to choose differently? Or am I going to keep doing the same thing? Am I going to keep reacting? Am I going to go into the same behaviors? Am I going to continue with my habits and addictions? Whatever it is. Am I going to still feel victimized? Or am I going to say enough is enough? And I have the ability to change. And the universe is supporting me. May not seem like it, but the universe is supporting you. They helped shift things in order to redirect us and get us back on course for our highest good. Because sometimes many of us are so goddamn stubborn. And we need those big wake-up calls to shift us out and move us because we refuse to let go. just wanted to share on that in a little bit. And as far as redirection and divine intervention, our universes, our higher selves, our source, our guides, our ancestors, they love us that much. And they cannot fully intervene, but they can shift energy. And actually, no, I want to say they will work with the energy that we are putting out in the universe. And if we're making decisions that are technically not for our highest good, we're creating that pathway. And they're just helping move it along, sometimes quicker, to jostle us out of our slumber, so that we can really see what we're doing and see, to have the foresight of the path and road we were going down, if that makes sense. So it's like our choices are very important. We may not see the outcome of a particular choice within that, right away. It depends on the type of energy and the frequency that you're holding. Some of us can manifest these things instantaneously. We talk about manifestation of, bringing in these things that we want and our desires and all that. We, as humans, we're great at manifesting shitstorms. We're great at creating chaos, distortion, pain, suffering, all that. So could you imagine if we actually utilized our minds and our hearts of a higher sense of hope, of joy, of love, and belief? Could you imagine what we could create? Because you can see the shitstorms we create day in and day out. And I'm including myself. And mainly this video is being made because I understand I'm not the only one who sometimes we just make choices that alter our paths. But it's recognizing that we have a support system behind us all the time that is guiding us and coaxing us. And they will step in. Not because we're stepping out of line. It's because your higher self knows where you're meant to go. And trusting that. Even within the moment, it may not seem that way and look like that. It's all out of love. Even what's perceived as not. It's all out of love. And each moment we're given a new opportunity to come back here, tell ourselves, I love you, I forgive you. You were working from the level of consciousness that you're at. You did the best that you could with the skills and abilities and tools that you had available. And that's okay. You see everything for what it is. What are you going to do now? Where are you going to go? Are you going to keep making those choices and decisions? Or are you going to learn from that and take the wisdom and keep moving forward? And work towards your highest potential, towards your highest path. So, thank you for allowing me to ramble and share a little bit. And again, being able to do this is a way for me to express, but it helps me work through things as well. So I appreciate all of you who are sharing the journey with me right now and being sacred witnesses in my healing as well. I appreciate you. I honor you. I bless you. And I thank you. We got this. We just got to keep moving forward. Have hope. See the vision. Keep following it. It's okay to fall for a little while, but we will always get up and we will always rise because we're designed to do that. Humans are so friggin' resilient. It's crazy. Sending you all much love and many blessings on your journeys forward.